Well, hey, everybody, welcome back to Early Childhood Chats, the podcast here, and excited today. We're going to be talking about something that every single person has a story about, and we're talking about potty training. And I have got an awesome guest today. Jackie is the self-dedicated chief potty officer for Tot on the Pot. It's a play-based potty training system that she came up with nearly 25 years ago when potty training her own son. And she couldn't find anything that worked. So she thought, hey, I'm not the only one going through this stuff. Let me figure out a solution here. And I'm just blown away at some of the great creative solutions that she has come up with. We're going to talk about play. We'll talk about imagination. We'll talk about the parent child connection, all of those types of things, and a very, very important milestone in any child's life. So, Jackie, welcome, Chief Potty Officer. How are you doing today?
Oh, good morning, Andy, and thank you. I appreciate your introduction. I love that we are connecting your world of preparedness with my world of potty training. It turns out we have a lot in common. Both require calm adults, clear communication, and not waiting till the last second, because in both of our worlds, go time really does mean go time.
It's very true. It's very true. So take me back. Gosh, it seems like yesterday. They always say the kids grow up so fast. So I'm assuming you're having the same flashbacks to your son almost 25 years ago. What was going on that you said, "Gosh, there's got to be a better way. I got to figure out a solution for this potty training mess."
So yes, it is hard to believe that it's been over 25 years ago, but here we are. So my son was 18 months and nonverbal at the time. He was actually nonverbal probably until he was close to 4 years old. But at 18 months old, one day he walked up to me. He had a diaper in his hand. He patted his bottom and he handed me the diaper. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, he knows he needs to be changed, that he was trying to tell me something. And that was sort of my first light bulb moment. So I immediately started rhyming words with poop. I created these fun little activities we could do together anytime he had any success along the way. And it worked. Then my daughter came along, and I'm pretty sure she started talking on day one, and she has not stopped talking since. um, but she was 21 months old, and I saw it again. We were at the library, and in the middle of story time, she got up, she walked over to a play kitchen, and there was a window in it. She went behind it, she looked out at her peers, and she squatted, she grunted, she groaned, and she pooped. Now, it was one of those toddler parent moments where you're like, yeah, we're doing this right now. But there was also something else. It struck me again that she realized she had to go. And at 21 months, or 20 months, the age of 20 months, I'm sorry, the age of 21 months, she had the wherewithal to hold it and look for privacy and wait until she got to her own private bathroom before she released. And that's when I really, really connected the dots. So it wasn't so much that I thought there had to be a better way. It was more, I get this. I understand it. I understood the importance of timing and body cues and starting potty training when a child is naturally ready and showing signs. So Andy, when you connect that with the fact that I love to draw, I love kids, and somehow rhyming words with poop came very natural to me. It kind of all made sense and came together. And I remember very, very clearly thinking, you know what? Someday I'm going to create a potty training kit.
I love it. I love it. Well, look, those are the moments that we have that just like creativity, right? And let's go for it. So it's a very long road from that concept to actually having a physical product and a solution and all that kind of stuff. What does that journey look like for you, and how did you kind of keep going through all of it?
So the idea came from my own experience as a parent, but turning it into an actual product was a whole completely different journey. For all the right reasons, my goal at the time was to raise my kids to the best of my ability. That was my focus. So Town in the Pot was trademarked. The idea was there. but I set it aside while I was busy being a mom and just living real life. Um, then about 10 years ago, I had one of those defining, heartbreaking moments. I'm guessing we probably all have had one of those, but someone I love left this world, and it made me stop and really look at my life and think, what am I waiting for? This has always been a dream of mine. My kids are grown. What am I waiting for? So I naturally did the very practical thing. I went into my husband and we had a conversation about me quitting my pretty great paying job and jumping into the world that I knew nothing about of manufacturing tiny toilets and dolls. Um, but we talked about it and we said, yeah, let's go ahead. Let's give this crazy dream a thought. Um, so then became the product journey, prototypes, manufacturing, packaging, safety testing, dolls, books, instructions. I met some amazing people along the way. I had a lot of blind faith. There was several messy moments, but I wrote it, I drew it, I designed it, I believe in it, and I really loved the whole journey of ending up where I am here today, talking to you, Andy.
Oh, I mean, I just love it, and it's so cool to be able to see your vision really come to life. I know that sometimes it's just like it's frustrating. It's a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of commitment, but it's so cool when you actually have that tangible thing and you can hold it and say, "Hey, wow, this is here. I created this. This is making a difference." So kudos for sticking with it. That's amazing. You know, one of the things I've I've always loved is your tagline, right? Think like a tot, parent like a pro. And do you find a lot of adults kind of get caught in that trap and maybe even get frustrated? Like, oh, why can't they just get this? This is so simple. Like, what's going? Like, what does that really mean when we think of like, thinking like a tot? How do we get into that mindset? Why is it so important in the potty training realm here?
It's funny that you say that. In a lot of the workshops I do, especially with parents, part of the workshop, and I could put you on the spot right now, Andy, but I won't. But I say to a parent, from beginning to end, there are about 15 steps a toddler has to take to start from play and successfully master using the potty. And then I say to a parent, you have 6 seconds to tell me them in order. And again, it kind of really, nobody can really do it, but it kind of brings to light what I think thinking like a top means. It means remembering that they are not tiny adults. They think different. Their brains are different. They learn through play, repetition, watching, um, and they learn at a very different level. I think one of the things we don't think about as adults is the bathroom is loud, toilets are big,
Mm.
smells in the bathroom are uncomfortable, flushing is scary, clothing can be tricky. There's a lot going on, and on top of that, one of the closest little friends that your child has ever had has been taken away, and that's the diaper.
Ah.
That is a lot for a little person. So when I say think like a tot, parent like a pro, it really means having empathy for all of that, and then staying calm and consistent and fair. Not perfect, because there is no such thing as perfect when it comes to potty training, but just staying steady.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I mean, I guess, thinking about it in those young eyes, like that is pretty intimidating walking in with all those noises and things. And I don't know. Yeah, it's good to pause and kind of think through the eyes of others in that. And I know, your system has got a lot of great stuff going for it. One of those things is the reward cards that you have, right? And really kind of celebrating that moment, celebrating the success, which again, maybe we don't take the time to do that, but it's a really important part to kind of get to continue on this journey, continue on this path, isn't it?
I agree. Yes, it is.
And what do you think? Like instead of candy, not screen time, but like it seems like you really focused on those imaginative activities and rewards. I think that's a really novel approach. Where did that idea come from? What are you seeing? Why did you decide to go that route and not, here's a video you could watch or something like that?
Well, it came from a whole bunch of places, but I think we'll start with the activity cards. It came from a simple idea. Young children do best when their rewards keep them engaged in a relationship and not distracted from it. we know from early childhood development that those back and forth moments matter. A child does something, the adult responds, and the child feels seen. That is brain building work. And it's also relationship building work. So instead of making the reward something separate from the parent, like candy or screen time, I wanted to bring and keep the parent and child together. And that's what the reward cards do. They give parents easy little moments to pull from, silly little games, quick prompts, a quick activity, tiny little celebrations. And Andy, the best part is that it's done without needing any supplies, any setup, no exploding glitter, just fun moments between parent and child.
Which
And
is
from a
good because
learning,
in that bathroom environment, you may not have access to all that stuff, right?
that is true. It comes quick. But from a learning standpoint, it makes sense. Young children learn best by doing. They learn through imitation, rhyme, play, and shared attention. So if we
Yeah.
compare potty practice with something warm, immediate, and playful, we are helping a child stay engaged without turning the whole thing into a transaction. Yes, candy can work, screens can work. And I always say parents know their children best. But what I do think we have to be careful of when the reward starts becoming bigger than the activity and starts running the show.
Yeah.
The goal is not to create a child who sits on the potty because because they're negotiating 15 minutes to a half hour worth of screen time, or whether they're going to get 2 or 5 M&Ms. The goal is to help the child feel proud, capable, connected, and willing to try again.
Yeah.
So that's where I came from.
Well, that's very good points. And like you said, you don't want to, you think like the Pavlov dog thing, right? You're willing to ring the bell, get the treat kind of, you don't really want that, right? So, and I guess I should back up too. I mean, you've got a really robust system that you've got. For folks that have never seen it, what does kind of the package look like? What do you get? And we talked about the activity cards and that kind of stuff. What's kind of incumbent in all your system that you've got there?
Oh, well, thanks. The Tat on the Pot kit includes 5 pieces. It is a anatomically correct potty training doll, a toy potty for the doll, a children's book, and a parent's guide with 20 activity reward cards. But what you're really getting is a way to help a toddler understand potty training long before they're expected to actually do it themselves. I'll say it over and over again. Children learn best through play, and this gives your child the chance to practice. They can put the doll on the potty. They can read the story. They can start making that connection. They get comfortable with the fact that poop and pee go into the potty. It's all part of making the process comfortable.
That's
The
great.
parent's guide, it takes away all the confusion for parents. It gives them language to use, guidance, steps, an order of the process, how to connect with a child, how to watch for the signs and what those cues mean. It's a really, really good way, I believe, to help keep the whole process organized and consistent. And the activity cards, which is what we just talked about, it's my favorite part of the whole kit, mostly because it does exactly what most kids want. They want time and attention and joy with their parents, and time to connect and spend on doing a fun activity is exactly what those cards do.
I was hoping, as we get into 2026, 2027, that like at some point they would just come out with a QR code on their forehead and you could scan it and get that user's manual. But we just can't seem to get that user's manual for these kids. I don't know. It's so elusive, isn't it? But which is crazy. And, we think a lot about kind of even in emergencies, we think about anxiety. We think about that feeling of calm. That calm is a superpower, I like to say. The same thing applies to the potty training stuff, right? And I know parent anxiety, maybe you don't even recognize that you're being anxious, but certainly the kid can pick up on some of those nonverbal cues and everything else. And that almost puts more stress on the child when it comes to the whole potty training. How does that stress really transfer over to a toddler during this whole process?
Oh, absolutely. Science, experience, and good old real life have taught us all that toddlers read a room and grown-ups far better than we probably ever realized. If we're tense, they feel it. If we're frustrated, they feel it. If every accident turns into a big emotional moment, children can start feeling like something's wrong with them.
Yeah.
Anxiety starts to creep in, and unintentionally for sure, shame starts to also creep in. And those are the last things we want. Potty training is a lot for a child. They're learning body signals, timing, clothing, bathroom, routines, wiping, washing, and privacy. Then, if it is an adult adds pressure or panic, the child may become fearful, resistant, or become anxious, which again starts to create its own set of problems. I always remind parents your calm is part of the process. Um, Now, look, that doesn't mean anyone has to be perfect. Nobody is calm every second of potty training. If you have ever cleaned up poop or pee off the floor for the third time before 11 in the morning, you are allowed to have human moments. But overall, the child needs to feel that accidents are normal, learning takes practice, and that the adult they trust and love the most still believe in them. I always say the tone should be, you are learning, I'm here. You are safe, I love you. We'll keep practicing and working on this together.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And just I guess being a little bit more cognizant of our big reactions that we have, as you mentioned, and you said it before, but probably worth repeating. Every child's a little bit different, right? So that whole let me benchmark, oh, all your friends are doing this, but you're not, or it's really not all that helpful, right? I mean, like, peer pressure, I guess, can maybe help a little bit, but we got to be very careful on that because, again, children are developing at a different, cadence, and that's totally okay, right? So
Oh,
I love
absolutely.
that. Yeah.
Andy, one of the things that I've learned through all my research and training is that potty training, this milestone, is one of the first time that shame is actually introduced into a child's life. And again, I think as
Mm.
adults, if we all take a step back and think about it, it will kind of help us readjust our conversation and our language during potty training. Because for sure, it is a hard topic. It is a hard milestone to achieve. But if we can all remember that our calm is the way that children will learn better, that would be great.
Yeah, no, I mean that point is just it can't be overstated, quite frankly, and how you react to, as again, like those little eyes are watching you at all times, right? So
Absolutely.
I was really kind of, again, they don't come with a user manual, so I know when we were training our oldest daughter, she's 5 now, but she was doing really, really well, and she was just knocking it out of the park with the pee. And then one day the poop came, and oh my goodness, just I was not prepared, quite frankly, of the reaction of kind of turning around and looking and like, Daddy, what is that? And almost like losing a piece of myself, and I'm scared and I'm frightened and I don't know what that thing is, and it's very different from what I feel when I just go pee, right? And gosh, I didn't see that coming at all, Jackie. And it did. It drove us back. I don't know. It drove us back a few weeks, maybe a few months, quite frankly, just about kind of not being prepared and not even thinking through. And I kind of felt like I let her down because I didn't even anticipate that. I didn't have the answers. I didn't know how to message it. I'm just like, what's the big deal? You went potty, right? Congratulations, kind of a thing. And ooh, I stepped in it there. So lesson learned on that, right? I wish I would have stumbled onto you before then because I could have really used your guidance on that.
Well, and again, to your point, I think something that um, parents that we don't think about, and of course we don't, but the reality is, if you think about the body parts, our children can't see what's happening.
Yeah.
Most of the time, we're not talking about what's happening. And then I always say to adults, think about what would happen if one of your body parts just fell off. We would freak
Right.
out. And that's kind of what it's like for a child. There, something's happening down in places of their body that they can't see, and something just fell out of their body for the first time because up until then, that poop and pee has been tied completely between their body and the diaper. And so it's a very new, different experience for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Now it makes all the sense in the world, but boy, I got to tell you, I was flat-footed on that one. We got a big chunk of the audience working in early childhood, obviously, and for better or worse, a lot of times the parents will come to them and say, "Hey, I'm having a hard time at home. What can I do? It's going sideways." I'm curious, what's one piece of advice or one kind of tip that you wish every early childhood professional knew about potty training?
I love this question. You're going to need to sit back and relax for a second, Andy, because this is going to probably be a really long answer.
Oh, good, good.
Um, but I often tell professionals in Head Start and in early childhood programs that they're doing some of the most important work there is, and I really mean that. I wish every childhood professional knew how amazing they are and how important they are in this process. Because potty training is not just a parent issue. It is not just a bathroom issue. And it is not just a school issue. It is child development. It is communication. It is health and safety. It is routine. It is sensory awareness. It's family engagement. And it's bridging home and school.
Yeah.
And sometimes, very practically, it's the one thing standing between a child moving on to the next level or not. So that's one piece. I also think we have to remember, or maybe even re-educate ourselves on something important. Timelines are changing. Children are getting potty trained later and later, but children's bodies did not change. Biology did not suddenly change. Our culture changed. And somewhere along the way, the pendulum around potty training has swung so far that many families have become confused as to when to begin, what readiness really looks like, how to respond, and what to do when their child actually starts showing cues. And that's where I think that childhood professionals become such a powerful bridge. Andy, as you know, they're the ones that they are seeing the child, the parent, the home, the classroom in the bigger picture. They can help families start to understand that body awareness conversations can and should start earlier, long before potty training begins. They can help families start to recognize the cues and use simple language, support health and safety, and build consistency between home and school. I could go on, but in my experience, what families are missing is clear guidance, practical language, and confidence in a consistent path forward. And when those tools are missing, the pressure shifts onto everyone, the child, the parent, the provider, and eventually onto school readiness. So to me, that's the big message. It's about recognizing a natural developmental window and supporting the child earlier than it's currently happening.
It's a point well taken, and we certainly have seen that, kind of get later and later and later. I will say, to the chagrin of several of parents, of early childhood professionals, everybody, but that does seem to be kind of the new normal, that it's happening a little bit later historically now than it has in the past. Thinking about that early childhood setting, different, right? It's different than being at home. Now we're in a group, we're in maybe a big bathroom with lots of different toilets, all sorts of things. What does that kind of look like? What are special characteristics or things we should keep in mind, at a childcare program versus at home? Is there certain things we should be kind of thinking about in that environment?
So the message will be the same. It's trying to keep consistency across both boards. One thing about the child development or early learning rooms or daycares that's helpful is that now you have children and that you have kids watching kids, which is helpful. They learn through seeing, they learn through repetition, and hopefully they're becoming part of the process. And if nothing else, it helps keep them feel like, okay, this is normal and it's not scary. So that's a big part of it. I think the important thing is try to keep keeping it consistent between home and school isn't the easiest thing to do, but what is easy and important is keeping the communication and making sure that we are both headed in the right direction, both home and school or early learning center, so that the end goal is the same. And I think that that's what will help kids thrive in those settings and having different settings.
Yeah, I mean, excellent points. And it's interesting that, that you think about the potty training as such a gatekeeper of many things. I mean, you think about even summer programming. There's a lot of summer programs that say, hey, you got to be potty trained to enroll. The swimming pool, right? We don't want kids in the swim diapers. You got to be potty trained to come in the pool. So there's this like immense kind of, I don't know, there's immense pressure on the parents to like, let's get these kids potty trained because as soon as they are, it opens up all this other programming for them, which can make obviously parents' lives a lot easier. I know that conversation plays out a lot in the early childhood programs, right? The parents come in and say, hey,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, you work at this childcare program. You're with kids every day. You're the expert, and maybe sometimes unfairly kind of puts you on the spot. What do you think? How should childcare providers answer that question if a parent comes in like looking for advice? Is there one kind of solid thing we should be telling him about? Hey, if a family's struggling, maybe here's a nice caveat we can say. Hey, try this, or frame it this way, or what do you think about that? Because again, I know this question gets asked all the time.
Yeah, and it's probably the hardest question to answer because the reality is that potty training happens and you're either potty training or you're not. And
Mm.
to try to do it in between is confusing to the child and it doesn't really work. It's not efficient. So the piece of advice I would give any parent is watch for your cues, and once you see them, get potty training on your radar. And then once you start, stay with it. Get that connection and stay consistent with it. One of the things I think we can all do is remind parents that potty training is a big job for a little child. They're learning new body signals, new muscles, new steps, and a new routine all at the same time. And now you're asking them to do that out in public places too. Children just aren't meant to learn that and figure that out alone by themselves. I would remind everyone they need calm adults, simple language, and consistent routines, and a whole lot of encouragement to master this amazing, sometimes messy milestone we all know as potty training. So I think if we can continue to give families simple words, a routine that they can repeat, and a reminder to everyone that accidents are part of the learning. They're not failure. They may be messy, but they are not failure. So yeah, I would say that once you start, stick with it, stay connected, stay consistent, and have those conversations early and often would be my advice.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great point because I can only imagine, again, you try to, with your framing, put your eyes, put your mind in the one of a child, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Um, it's got to be confusing, right? Like I'm going pee in the potty at school, but I'm coming home and I've still got this diaper or what. Like I can imagine that probably adds to the complexity and probably compounds some of these challenges that they have. Like what's the right thing to do here, right? Am I supposed to go to the potty? Or am I supposed to go in this? Um, the other thing that was just again lessons learned was the importance of the timer. Right. And like, I don't care every 45 minutes, 50 minutes, 60 minutes, whatever. Like, we're going to go sit on that potty and we're going to try this. But again, kind of naively thinking as a parent, like, oh, they'll let me know when they have to go. No, not necessarily. That's again a skill we need to learn, isn't it? So, um,
Oh, for sure. And that's where they need you. They need you to help recognize that when they're starting to squirm or stop or do their little potty dance, that's our job, parents' job, provider job to say, oh, wait, that's your body telling you something. Let's go try and use the potty.
100%. And I guess, and again, just thinking kind of like failures that I've made. The other thing is like, you also want to, like, you don't want it to be a punishment, right? So I know a lot of times like, oh, I don't want to go to the potty because then I've got to end my playtime or my Play-Doh or my drawing or whatever. And then it's almost like you're getting in trouble or you're losing something, right? So like you're taking away that toy, you're taking away that activity. and they're choosing like, well, am I going to stay and pee in my pants and keep playing, or am I going to go and then that's the end of the play, right? So I would suspect that's probably hard to navigate in some situations too, and making sure that we're not penalizing kids for going potty is probably an important consideration as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you think about it, if you've ever been to a concert as an adult, um, and if you go to use the bathrooms during the middle of the concert, you can probably get right in. If you have to go during intermission, there's going to be a line wrapped around the building, right?
All
None
right.
of us want to stop what we're doing. And so for kids, think if you can think about it from their eyes, hey, let's take Spider-Man in and we can use the potty together. And all the other toys, you wait here and we'll be right back. Or um, make it part of a normal day. Let's go ahead and put on your shoes and then we'll use the potty before we go outside. So I think sometimes as adults, we kind of put the light on. It's time to potty train. It's time to use the potty instead of just making it part of a normal part of the day and normal routine, which I think makes everybody relax.
Yeah, 100%. And again, it requires some pre-planning, requires a little bit of, purpose and not something you can really just do kind of off the cuff. But these are the conversations, right? And these are the things that as you're thinking about entering in this new phase, gosh, this is where that, instruction manual is helpful to say like, and like you mentioned, like we're going to screw up, we're going to have
Oh,
accidents. Even if you get it right during the day, the nap times are challenging, the night times are challenging. It doesn't mean if you're doing great during the day, you're going to be able to sleep through the night and not pee the bed or something, right? So that whole kind of phased approach and just recognizing the longevity that this takes, where it's not days and days, it's literally probably months, if not, multiple months, right? And that's been
yeah, I
kind of
mean,
hard too, right?
well, and for sure, it takes a while. So again, it's like anything. You crawl before you walk before you ride a bike, and it's kind of the same thing. You potty train during the days, and look, it's very common and very realistic to say to a child at nap time and in bedtime, your body is asleep. It doesn't know you have to use the potty, so we're going to wear big boy pull-ups or big girl diapers, whatever you want to call them. And kids can kind of understand that. What they can't understand is today you're in a diaper and it's okay to pee, but tomorrow you have to use the potty, but the next day you're going to be back in a diaper. That's confusing to them.
Yeah.
Um, but again, if you keep taking it step by step and then you slowly make it through naps and then you start introducing, nighttime potty training, it's like anything else. It's that gradual buildup and it works.
Well, I know you've been laser focused on the tot on the pot, but I thought it was interesting because you've done some other interesting stuff as well, kind of related to the whole child development and the journey. You've done stuff on pacifiers and sleep and tooth fairies and everything else. What's been kind of the common thread as you approach these different systems and products that you've created over the years?
You've probably heard me use this word 10 times already through this podcast, but connection. The common thread in all of my products has been connection, helping children move through milestones with their parents through play, routine, and imagination. Um, but honestly, my vision has really shifted. What started as a potty training kit expanded to the other kits that you mentioned and helped tackle some other milestones. But it brought me right back to where I began, and that is Tot on the Pot. My focus now is pretty much solely on the Tot on the Pot kit, potty training workshops for parents and professionals, different organizations. Um, and now I'm starting to work with some of the counties and states because the more I do this work, the more I see how important this milestone really is. Potty training is not just about using the potty. I've said it before and I will say it forever. It is about a tiny human learning about their beautiful body at the right time in a safe place with the most important people in their little world. And make no mistake, the messages that children learn during this stage last far, far beyond and long after that potty training or that little potty is gone. So I am putting my heart and soul into potty training at this time of my life.
Well, we certainly appreciate it. As you mentioned, it's badly needed. So thank you for being a great resource out there. We talk about it on this podcast a lot, just kind of society, new technology, AI, screen time, all the things that, quite frankly, you and I didn't have when we grew up, right? So I've really been, impressed and inspired by how you're really digging into the whole non-technical, imagination-based, especially in this world where like everything is app-based, everything's screen time, everything's this and that. I really appreciate what you're doing here and kind of keeping it real and keeping it low tech. And I just wondered, like that obviously was a purposeful choice. What kind of inspired that unplugged play philosophy that you've embraced?
Well, first of all, I appreciate you noticing that. And funny thing, my husband is actually a technology genius, truly a technology genius. My gift, I believe, happens to be empathy and connection, and how our worlds ever actually met. It might be a miracle. I'm really glad they did, but there is no reason on paper that he and I should be together. But I'm glad we are. Um, so look, for sure, I am not anti-technology. Parents are busy, and sometimes screen time buys everyone a few minutes to breathe. I get that. But from birth to 5, children need faces, voices, movement, imagination, repetition, fresh air. They need time with people who love them. That's how they learn best. Play-based learning is not extra. It is how children learn to make sense of the world. So when I talk about unplugged, I'm really talking about filling a child's early years with simple, real life moments. Reading together, pretending, playing, laughing, exploring outside, doing nothing together, letting them learn through experiences. And then my hope and my belief is that when we give children that kind of steady, solid foundation, many of those milestones, the big milestones, begin to fall into place at the right time in a way that feels safe, healthy, and natural. And then when technology is introduced, children have a better chance of using it in a healthy, balanced way because it's not their whole world. It is just one part of an amazing life full of so many of other things. But for sure, Sesame Street, a nap here and there, a good learning video, just some quality videos. I'm all for that. But make no mistake, there's no app, no AI, no gadget that will ever replace a parent getting down on the floor, looking straight into their child's face and saying, hey, I'm here. Let's figure this out together. And I am a really, really big proponent or advocate for that.
100%. And, it's interesting the studies that have come out, even just putting on a YouTube video in the background, it's not the same, right? It's not the same as reading to a child, having that connection, as you mentioned, being on the floor with that child. And that's not for me saying that. That's the brain experts and everybody that knows what in the world's going on up in this crazy brain, right? And those synapses are firing in a different way when you're watching a screen versus when you're actually interacting with another human. So yeah, really interesting. Does your husband try to push you to get more in the tech space, or how does that conversation go?
Um, well, actually, I have to give Bob like great credit because he has been such an amazing support through this whole thing. And again, our lives definitely changed a little bit when I jumped into this new venture. And he's been amazing. And actually, some of the things that he has taught me regarding how to use the computer and actually AI better to help fill in some of my gaps has been helpful. Um, but I can also tell you that our dinner conversations have changed a little bit now, where it used to be a lot of computer based things. Now it's a lot of, hey, can you believe that this is what this child did? Conversations too, which is kind of funny. But no, does an amazing job of supporting, but also kind of keeping our two worlds kind of separate.
I love it. It's good balance there. Well, you're doing so many wonderful things. I just can't say enough about how great it is. I'm so glad our paths have crossed. What's coming up? What's next for Todd on the Pot? Where do you see this thing going? What do you got planned? How do people stay in touch with you? All the things.
So the way to stay in touch with me again, toddonthepot.com is where my website is. I'm starting to just get back into the social media aspect of it. More importantly, reach out to me anytime at Jackie at Tot on the Pot. But what's coming up, and kind of what I already alluded to, is that beyond the working with different schools and organizations, actually starting to help communities, counties, districts, states manage their pathway and toolkits has been a really, really interesting new venture for me. And I think it will help a lot of providers and kids along the way. So I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, that's great. And I'd love to, chat offline. We'll do, something with Head Start East. We got to work with our parents, right? We got to engage our parents. And this is an area that we all struggle in. So having somebody like you with your expertise do a little parent seminar, I think would be amazing. So we'll chat and try to get something like that going for everybody. I know we have a lot of students that like to listen. Any advice to kind of the new up and coming generation, that next cadre of early childhood professionals? What do they need to know about potty training, recognizing that some of them may not have kids of their own at this stage?
Oh, I love that question. As I said earlier, the pendulum is continuing to shift, and our kids are getting potty trained later and later. And one of my missions is to try to study that pendulum a little bit. And so, what I say to them, the easiest way to do that is to go back to the beginning, and conversations that should start happening, like every other conversation we have with our babies and our children, should just start much, much earlier. And just by doing that, I think it will help steady the pendulum. So often we don't think about potty training until it's time to potty train.
Yeah.
And just the health and the safety and the knowing about your body earlier, and then incorporating potty training at the along the way, I think is a message that I would send to every professional, especially the new ones just coming out.
Wonderful. Well, I got to tell you, this is a first. I've never had a chief poop officer on the podcast before. So thank you for, a new milestone here. That's very exciting stuff. Kudos for just all the great work. I've gotten to know Jackie, and she's just a phenomenal person doing some really great stuff. And what you're doing is really needed out there. So thank you for all you're doing and the support you're giving the kids and the families. This is a very, very challenging topic. And again, at first blush, it doesn't seem like it should be that hard. It seems like, oh, this is just human nature. The kids will figure it out on their own. But boy, as we know, you could really use some extra help on this. And even if that's just, level setting, as we've talked about today. And look, you're not doing anything wrong. The kid's not doing anything wrong. This is just a process that they go through, right? And it can be frustrating
Absolutely.
and everything else. But the good thing is, I guess, the more you talk to people, you're not alone in this, right? Um, it's been interesting talking to, girl dads and dads that have sons, and even just, comparing notes about the differences of training a daughter versus a son and
Oh,
uh,
for sure.
whatnot, right? So we're all kind of figuring this out together, and it's so amazing to be able to bring you a resource like Jackie, who's really dedicated, like again, the past 25 years to figuring out ways to support families and children on this. So thank you again, Jackie. I really appreciate it. Look forward to doing a lot of great stuff with you in the future, and we'll put everything in the show notes so people can find your website and reach out to you and all those kind of great things. But I'll give you the last word. Anything you'd like to say to folks as we wrap things up here?
No, but again, first of all, Andy, thank you. I appreciate this opportunity. Again, I have learned so much from you, through you, and just learning about you. You have quite an impressive resume, so I feel very privileged to actually be working and talking with you. So thank you for that. And I think the last word I would throw in is kind of to piggyback on what you just said, that this is hard for everybody, and that you're not alone. And so there's there's no shame, there's no right way. Well, there is a right way, but there's no judgment. Again, it is a tough milestone. And so, yeah, use resources that you can find. And the best advice I can give to anyone is, again, conversation should start early and often, long before potty training is on anyone's radar.
Wonderful. Well, totonthepot.com for all things that Jackie's got going. Again, we'll have those in the show notes. And thank you so much. Thank you to Jackie for sharing her wisdom, her expertise, all the great work she's been doing. And of course, thank you for hanging out and listening to us. We hope you enjoyed this episode. And we'll continue to bring you great experts just like Jackie talking about some really interesting topics in future episodes. But until then, we'll leave it here and we'll say thank you very much. We'll see you on the next podcast.